Hey, fellow gamers! Today we're diving into the mysterious world of Alan Wake 2, the much-anticipated sequel to the cult classic original. Now, before we get too deep into this, keep in mind that this review is going to be as unbiased and relaxed as your favorite gaming chair. We'll explore the highs and lows, the bright and dark sides of Alan Wake's return, so let's jump right in. If you played the first Alan Wake, you'll remember it as a psychological thriller that blurred the lines between reality and nightmare. Alan Wake 2 picks up the torch, quite literally, and continues the tale of our favorite troubled writer navigating through the eerie landscapes of his own creation. The atmosphere is thick with tension, mystery, and that unique blend of Stephen King and Twilight Zone vibes that the series is known for. One of Alan Wake 2's strongest suits is undoubtedly its narrative. Remedy Entertainment has once again demonstrated their storytelling prowess, weaving a gripping tale that keeps you hooked from start to finish. The plot twists and turns, and just when you think you've got it figured out, the game throws a curveball at you. It's like being trapped in a labyrinth of nightmares, and you can't help but follow the breadcrumbs, even when you're not entirely sure where they lead. The game excels in creating a haunting atmosphere. The visuals are a step up from the original, with detailed environments, dynamic lighting, and an overall cinematic quality. The interplay of light and shadow is not just a visual gimmick. It's a core mechanic that defines the gameplay. The use of the flashlight as a weapon against the darkness is not only a nod to the original game, but a clever way of reinforcing the game's theme. Speaking of using a flashlight as a weapon, the combat mechanics have seen some welcomed improvements. The flashlight feels more responsive, and the tension in battles is palpable. There's a delicate balance between conserving your light's battery and warding off the malevolent entities lurking in the dark. It's an intricate dance that adds depth to the gameplay, and when you nail it, there's a sense of accomplishment that's hard to replicate. Alan Wake, as a character, has always been a complex one, and the sequel delves even deeper into his psyche. The supporting cast is also well-crafted, with characters that aren't just there to move the plot along, but contribute meaningfully to the overall narrative. The voice acting is on point, capturing the emotional nuances of the characters and enhancing the overall immersion. The game encourages exploration, rewarding players with hidden collectibles, lore snippets, and side stories. The puzzles scattered throughout the game are engaging without being overly frustrating. They add a layer of variety to the experience, preventing the gameplay from feeling too one-dimensional. While the narrative is a strong point, there are moments when the pacing stumbles a bit. Some sections feel a tad drawn out, and the balance between action and storytelling occasionally tilts too far in one direction. It's not a deal breaker, but it's noticeable enough to mention. For those who played the first Alan Wake, there's a sense of déjà vu in certain elements of the sequel. The setting, the use of light as a weapon, and even some story beats might feel a bit too familiar. While it's clear that the developers aim to maintain the essence of the original, some players might have hoped for a more radically different experience. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Yes, there are a few technical glitches. It's not uncommon to encounter the occasional graphical hiccup or a moment where the controls feel less responsive than they should. These issues, while not rampant, do pull you out of the immersion and are a bit disappointing. Alan Wake 2, for all its strengths, doesn't push the envelope as much as one might hope. In an era where gaming is constantly evolving, some players might find the lack of groundbreaking innovation a bit underwhelming. The game, at times, feels like a safe sequel rather than a bold step forward. While some players appreciate a narrative that leaves room for interpretation, others might find the level of ambiguity in Alan Wake a bit frustrating. There are moments when the story takes unexpected turns without clear explanations, and while this can be intriguing, it might not sit well with everyone. So, what's the final verdict on Alan Wake 2? It's a solid sequel that maintains the essence of the original while introducing enough improvements to keep things interesting. The narrative is a roller coaster of psychological twists. The atmosphere is thick with tension, and the combat mechanics have received a welcome polish. However, it's not without its flaws. The pacing can be a bit off, and there's a sense of treading on familiar ground. Technical glitches, while not game-breaking, do detract from the overall experience. The limited innovation might leave some players wanting more, and the narrative's level of ambiguity could be a divisive factor. Ultimately, Alan Wake 2 is a game that caters to fans of the original and those who appreciate a good psychological thriller. It might not revolutionize the gaming landscape, but it's a competent addition to the series. If you're ready to plunge into the shadows, flashlight in hand, and navigate the twisted corridors of Alan Wake's mind, this sequel offers a compelling, if somewhat familiar, journey.